everyone, and I'm excited to share my project, What is Gender? We will explore the concept of gender by looking at ideas from several important philosophers, Sally Haslanger, Robin Dembroff, Aristotle, Bertrand Russell, and Plato. Each of these thinkers offers unique perspectives that can help us better understand what gender means and how it affects our lives. We'll start with Sally Haslanger's view on that gender is a social construct, meaning that society creates ideas about what it means to be male or female. Then we'll discuss Robin Dembroff's concept of bidimensional dispositionalism, which suggests that sexual orientation involves both sex and gender characteristics. Next, we'll look back at ancient philosophers. Aristotle introduced the ideas of substance and accident, which can help us think about which parts of our identity are fundamental and which are shaped by society. Bertrand Russell talked about the difference between appearance and reality, encouraging us to question whether societal views on gender truly affect individual identities. Finally, we'll explore Plato's theory of ideal forms and how it relates to society's ideas of masculinity and femininity. By examining these perspectives, we can gain a deeper understanding of gender and consider how societal norms, biology, and personal identity all play a role in shaping who we are. To begin, let's distinguish between sex and gender. Sex refers to the biological attributes such as chromosomes, hormone levels, and reproductive anatomy that categorize individuals as male, female, or intersex. These are typically assigned at birth based on physical characteristics. In contrast, gender pertains to the rules, behaviors, activities, and expectations that societies construct around these biological differences. Gender includes the identities, expressions, and norms that culture create, which can vary significantly across different societies and historical periods. Philosopher Sally Haslanger, in her essay, Gender and Race, What Are They? What Do We Want Them to Be?, presents a thought-provoking perspective on gender and race. She suggests that these concepts are not inherent or biological, but are socially constructed categories shaped by societal norms and power structures. Haslanger argues that understanding gender and race requires examining the social roles and expectations imposed upon individuals based on perceived physical characteristics. According to Haslanger, a woman is someone who is socially positioned in a way that subjects them to certain forms of subordination, while a man is someone who is socially positioned to be privileged. This positioning is often based on or assumed physical traits related to reproductive functions. She emphasizes that these categories are not fixed or essential, but are created and maintained through social practices and beliefs. This perspective encourages us to think how societal structures and cultural narratives shape our understanding of gender and race and how these constructs can change over time. By viewing gender and race as social constructs, Haslanger invites us to reflect on the ways in which these categories have been used to justify inequalities and how reimagining them can contribute to a social justice and equality. This approach challenges traditional notions and encourages a more nuanced understanding of complexities surrounding gender and race in our society. Building on Sally Haslanger's ideas, philosopher Robin Dembroff introduces a concept called bidimensional dispositionalism. In their paper, What is sexual orientation? Dembroff suggests that sexual orientation isn't just about being attracted to someone's sex or gender alone. Instead, it's about the combination of both sex and gender traits that influence who we're attracted to. This idea challenges the traditional view that sexual attraction fits into simple categories. For example, someone might be attracted to someone who have a mix of masculine and feminine qualities, regardless of whether they're biologically male or female. This perspective highlights the diversity and complexity of human attraction, showing that it's not limited to specific categories but is instead varied. By considering both sex and gender together, Dembroff's approach provides a more detailing understanding of sexual orientation. It acknowledges that people's attractions are influenced by a blend of characteristics, moving beyond simple labels to appreciate the full spectrum of human attraction. Aristotle, a famous Greek philosopher, introduced important ideas to help us understand the world around us. He talked about substance, which is the core of what something truly is, and accidents, which are features or characteristics that something has but aren't essential to its identity. For example, think of a tree. A substance is being a tree, while its height, or its numbers of leaves, or its presence, or the birds nesting in it, or accidents because they can change without it ceasing to be a tree. When we apply this concept to people and gender, we might consider biological sex, being male, female, or intersex, as the substance, the fundamental aspect of a person. On the other hand, gender roles, like the expectation that boys should be strong and girls should be gentle, can be seen as accidents. These roles are created by society and can change over time or in different cultures. For instance, in some cultures, it's very common for men to wear skirts or kilts, while in others, this is seen as unusual. This shows that gender roles are not fixed and can vary depending on societal norms. Understanding Aristotle's ideas help us see which parts of our identity are unchangeable and which parts are shaped by society we live in. Encourages us to question strict gender rules and to appreciate the diverse ways people express their identities. By recognizing that some aspects of who we are may deeply be rooted, while others are influenced by cultural expectations, we can foster a more inclusive and accepting view of gender and identity. Philosopher Bertrand Russell, in his work Appearance and Reality, encourages us to think carefully of how we see the world. He points out that we perceive might not always match the true nature of things. This idea leads us to a question societal constructs, including gender. Russell's approach prompts us to ask, are the rules and expectations we associate with gender truly reflective of individual identities, or are they simply appearances shaped by societal norms? By examining gender through this perspective, we are encouraged to look beyond surface level perceptions and consider the deeper assumptions that influence our understanding of gender. This challenges us to distinguish between societal perceptions of gender and the authentic experiences of individuals. In his writings, Republic 6 and Republic 7, the ancient philosopher Plato introduces the idea of ideal forms. He believed that behind every object or concept in our world, there is a perfect, unchangeable version of it. For example, while we see many different versions of tables around us, Plato thought that there exists a perfect form of table. an ideal version that represents the essence of what table truly is. And that was just one example. Applying this idea to gender, we can think about how society has created a perfect image of what it means to be masculine or feminine. These images shape our expectations of how boys and girls should act. However, these perfect forms might not match the diverse and real experiences of individuals. Plato's theory encourages us to reflect on how these societal ideals influence our views of gender roles. It also prompts us to consider how these ideals might not fully represent the wide range of human experiences. By questioning the strictness of gender norms, we can think about more inclusive and inflexible ways to understand gender identity. This approach helps us to recognize that societal expectations may not always align with individuals' realities, promoting a more open-minded perspective on gender. And for a real-life example, David Reimer was born in 1965 as one of the twin boys in Canada. He was 8 months old. When he was 8 months old, he and both his twin brother Brian had medical issue that made urinating difficult. Doctors recommended circumcision to fix the problem. Unfortunately, during David's procedure, a serious accident occurred, and his penis was severely damaged. David's parents were deeply concerned about his future and found advice from Dr. John Money, a psychologist known for his work on gender identity. Dr. Money believed that gender identity is primarily learned through upbringing and social environment. He suggested that David be raised as a girl, thinking this would lead to a successful gender transition. Following this advice, at 22 months old, David underwent surgery to remove his testicles and was given the name Brenda. His parents dressed him in girls' clothing and treated him as their daughter. As Brenda grew older, however, she struggled with her identity and did not feel like a girl. Despite efforts to raise her as a female, Brenda's behavior and feelings leaned towards being male. At the age of 14, Brenda's parents revealed the truth about her early childhood and medical history. Upon learning this, Brenda decided to live as a boy again, and chose the name David. He underwent surgeries to reconstruct male genitalia and took hormone treatments to develop male characteristics. David later married and tried to live a normal life, but he faced ongoing emotional challenges. Sadly, David's life ended when he committed suicide at the age of 38. His story shows just how complicated gender identity can be. It proves that gender isn't just about how someone is raised or what society expects. It also is about how a person feels inside. David's experience also raises big questions about whether doctors and scientists should try to change a person's gender through medical treatments, especially when they are too young to decide for themselves. His life is a powerful reminder that we need to be careful and thoughtful when we are talking about gender identity. It's important to listen to people, to respect their experiences, and understand that gender is more complex than just being a boy or girl. My reflection question is, how do these different views change the way we think about gender in today's world? In conclusion, the question, what is gender, doesn't just have one simple answer, but instead it leads us to even more questions. Gender is a mix of different things. It includes our biological bodies, the expectations that society places on us, and how we personally feel about ourselves. Some philosophers, like Sally Haslanger, believe gender is something created by society, while others, like Aristotle, help us think about what parts of our identity are natural and what parts are shaped by the world around us. By looking at these different ideas and learning from real people's experiences, we can better understand gender in a way that respects everyone. Instead of seeing gender as just two fixed categories, we can recognize that it's more flexible and personal. The more we listen, learn, and think critically, the more we can create a world where people feel appreciated for who they truly are. Thank you.